This is the Rig-It Restraint System. We call this Rig-It rope. We are one of the only restraint companies using this cordage. It is a very high strength, lightweight, small diameter cordage compared to the competitors. So we can do this all the way from 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, exceeding 6 inch, up to 20,000 PSI, 1502 or 6 inch iron. If you look at other materials, the bulkiness, the density of the material, it's too great to accurately restrain on 4 inch iron. We use a lot less material for the same job. It's flexible, it doesn't absorb water, it doesn't freeze. The colder it gets, the stronger it gets. With the restraints, we offer packages. Our clients dictate to us how long they want the packages. We generally split it up in an 80-20 package. So 80% of that package would be a 20-foot restraint. 20% of the package length will be 10-foot restraints. So 10 foots and 20s. That gives you the versatility when you're rigging in to select the right length of restraint. To rig our system in, one part of that restraint is always going to be attached to another part of the restraint. Very much like an electrical circuit. If we have power here and we want power there, everything needs to be connected. We have 2 eyes on each end of the restraint. Now we measure these eyes to a certain length in order to be practical with the respective size iron that they're going to be used on. You can choke eyes together, it's not recommended. The shackle is there for a reason. If we have to split apart the restraint at any given point on the line, a shackle allows us to do that. If you choke 2 eyes together, is the strength going to be there? Yes. Will it do its job? Yes. However, if it comes time to replace a small section of iron, you have to de-rig the whole system because you're not able to break the restraint. The shackle plays a very important part in the restraints. It joins the restraint A to restraint B. It has to contain the weight. We have to rely on the shackles as much as we rely on the rope. This is a Van B shackle. It is the go-to shackle in the world. It's got a higher safety factor than any other manufacturer of shackle out there. This is why we use it. This is the best product to use. This is the best product we can use. Before you go out on site and use this system, we want to know how to rig it into the wellhead, how to rig it into the truck, how to join restraints, how to tee off at intersections, how to restrain manifolds. You need to have a very good understanding of every manner in which this restraint can be used in the field. We're going to show you. You want to select the right restraint for the right purpose. We offer a range of restraints. It's engineered for up to 6 inch iron, up to 20,000 PSI. You need to know what your iron is capable of and therefore what restraint you use with your iron. Every restraint that comes in a package is serial numbered, it's tagged, it's dated for period of use. But on the tag we've got its parameters, its working load limits for respective iron, and it's serial numbered. So we know exactly what restraint is where. Before you rig it in, every restraint should be visually inspected by the user. You need to be looking for snags, you need to be looking for excessive wear, abrasion, if there's any knots in the cordage. You want to not see any manipulation of the rope whatsoever. You want to hitch onto the truck or as close as possible to a certified point. Connection at the wellhead again needs to be anchored to a certified point. It's the user's responsibility to determine what is and is not a certified point. We cannot dictate what that certified point is. That is beyond the scope of Rig-It restraints.
Pull out restraints, set them up roughly where they think they're intended to go, and then they're going to start the rigging process. Because we're connecting each restraint with a shackle, you can start multiple points along the line. Today what they're doing is just going to start at the wellhead and then we're going to work our way backwards. When you're rigging in a system, grab the end that has the tag on it, and that way when we're continuing to half hitch along the iron, you're not constantly dragging the tag along for a ride every time you hitch. Every possible potential point of failure, we need to have a securement on it. Either side of the joint, the hemi union, on the swivel, there's a half hitch. Now, a half hitch is just bringing the rope back around, pull it through on itself. Important too, when we're doing this, not to have the rope laying across one of the hammer ears. If they need to tighten that up at any point, if we don't want it here. We don't want that to be a pinch point they do hit this with a sledgehammer. So you're going to want it as much out of the way as possible. With connecting the restraints, when one finishes, you connect another one up. There is 3 methods to connect in. What Nick is doing here is just a simple shackle into each eye. So here he's actually saddling the eye around the pipe into another saddle. This is the preferred method as it keeps the restraint off the ground. This ensures a nice, safe, secure connection of restraints. It also keeps the restraints nice and tight on the iron, and it's not down in the ground in the elements, eliminating trip hazards and keeping the tension on the restraint line as well. Another joining method would just be to saddle one eye. Basically, the eye of the restraint goes into the shackle, the eye of the second restraint goes into the shackle. Again, a nice secure connection. It's not coming apart. Depending on where you're joining your restraints together, different methods obviously have different benefits. This is a bolt type anchor shackle. They come with cotter pins. We do recommend replacing the cotter pins with an R-clip. They're more usable. It's a 2-piece safety shackle. Situations like this where we come across a join in restraints at an unfavorable position, what we will do here is we're just going to unrig a section of it. We're going to shorten up the restraint by a series of hitches on the long joint, and therefore we can try and get the end of the restraint at a connection point where it's more manageable to ensure there's a safe, secure connection. Now we have a length of restraint that should enable us to secure the 2 chick sands and pup joint without having to join in an unfavorable position. So here we come into a T intersection. We've introduced a 3rd restraint into that shackle. So one restraint's going to continue down the line. The second restraint's going to tee off on that T intersection and continue to restrain every piece of iron on the ground. All the restraints need to be connected together. We have one restraint system, not individual whip checks. Here we have a T intersection on the iron. You can see we need to now join a second restraint. The primary restraint here that's running along the straight line, we've choked the eye of the restraint around the T, making a second connection here. Shooting forward, we've got another half hitch here, so this is now contained. What we have to do now is join restraint A and restraint B together. We've just run a shackle through it. There you go, it's all connected. It's a very quick and efficient method of rigging in. When guys see this, they tend to rush, and when you rush, you make mistakes. Slow and smooth is fast. At the end of the rigging, we do definitely take our time to go through the whole system one more time. We do a final walk the line inspection. Ensure that every piece of iron has a securing hitch around it. Everything's connected. The shackles are tightened. The safety R-clips are on the shackles, and everything is where it needs to be to ensure a secure system. When you rig out your system, keep the restraints together. Whether you use our provided restraint bags, you have maybe a restraint trailer that eliminates shackles, restraints getting lost, misplaced. Generally, when guys finish the job and they're rigging out, they want to get home. Watch for snags. It's a naked cordage. There's always sharp obstacles around sites. If you're pulling restraints, flinging them around, susceptible to snagging, take your time, because if you don't, you may be spending more time than you want anyway. If it's been raining or if it is wet, you can hang dry these. The ultra high molecular weight doesn't absorb water. Just throw them back in the bag and use them next time. If they're dirty, if it's a really muddy environment, you can wash this system, rinse them in a bucket, a pressure washer, as long as you don't get the nozzle too close. Generally, as this material doesn't absorb water, it stays relatively clean, even in the conditions it's used.
If you have any doubts on the restraint, whether it's a snag or abrasion, bring it to your supervisor. At the end of the day, we want to eliminate all risks.
Periodic inspections need to be performed on this restraint system every 6 months under hire use, but not exceeding 12 months.
We'll check it over, we'll recertify them, we'll load test them again, we'll give you a product back that you're comfortable, that you know is going to work.